His name was Raghavendra Rao. He was generally known as Maladi Halli Swami. When I was very young, when I was a little boy, he used to come to my grandfather's place. My grandfather was one of the patrons for him. He was constantly traveling, spreading yoga and things like that. He was also a very wonderful Ayurvedic doctor. He was one of the few Nadi Vaidyas, that is, by feeling the pulse, they can tell you, they can diagnose you. By feeling your pulse, he would not only tell you what disease you have today, what disease you will get in the next 10-15 years. He will predict right now and teach you the remedial methods or remedial practices that you could do. When I first met him, he was about 81, 82 years of age. And I was just 9 or 10 years of age. I was made that way at that time. I could just climb anything. One of my favorite sport used to be is to… in homes, in villages where my grandfather lived, there are wells in the backyard which is just 6 feet, 7 feet diameter, goes 120, 130 feet, water will be somewhere 60, 70 feet below. So one of the favorite sport is to jump into this. If you make one mistake, you will hit the rock and that will be the end of you. So jumping into it and again climbing back, holding this thing. And this 81-year-old man could do better than me. None of the kids could climb like me, but I found this 81-year-old man would climb faster than me. So that is what I wanted to know, how? And he said, you come and do yoga with me. So that is the thing that set me off initially to go to him and learn simple practices of yoga. He was physically quite an incredible man. Later when I went there after a few years, I had already put in about 5-6 years of gymnasium and I was all muscle. He was by then probably 84, 85 years of age. There were other boys who were much stronger than me. If we entered the wrestling ring with him, we always entered 3 against him. 3 of us against a 85-year-old man, all of us are young and fit. We put in a lot of work on the gymnasium. But within seconds, he would have all 3 of us pinned down. Never once we lasted a minute with him. He lived physically quite an incredible life. He was one yogi who was not afraid of money. If you go into his ashram, everywhere the signboards are, if you want to give me anything, give me money. Because those days he had over 3,500 destitute children with him. You have 1 or 2 and you see how hard you work. When you have 3,500, he was working very hard and he wanted money all the time. If anybody opened his mouth and they want to praise him, the first thing he would say, if you want to give me anything, give me money, otherwise you go. To understand how incredibly he lived, this happened when he was about 82 or 83 years of age. Wherever he is, he will travel six days in a week, he travels out, giving yoga lectures, demonstrations and other kinds of promoting his books and whatever. One day in a week he sits as an Ayurvedic doctor. Monday mornings he always sits as a doctor. From morning 3:34 if this starts, this will go on till 7, 8 in the evening. Once he sits down, that's it. The volunteers who comes to help him come in shifts, but he himself, once he sits down, morning 3:34, that's it, till evening, just goes on. To every patient that comes, he has a joke to tell them. It's not like a doctor-patient thing at all, it's like a festival. So one Sunday night it happened that he was in a railway station about 70 kilometers from the ashram. There's another railway station about 2 kilometers from the ashram. An hour and a quarter ride on the train. Those who were, George Fernandez days, when he was the union person, anytime they would strike work. So, railway struck work. Suddenly all trains were cancelled. So there was no other means of transport. Late night, he went there with 2 companions in the railway station. His commitment to his work was such, it doesn't matter what, he has to fulfill it. He just left his 2 companions on the platform and just ran on the railway track. 70 kilometers. Overnight he ran. And 4 o'clock in the morning he was there, ready to treat his patients, an 83-year-old man. People at the ashram did not know he came running. It's only much later, when the other 2 reached the ashram, they said in the middle of the night, Swamiji ran away on the railway track. So, he was physically an incredible person. About 7-8 years ago or whatever. At the age of… when we were there, we used to make jokes about him. When are you going to go? It looks like we will overtake you and go, but when will you go? He would very confidently say, I have another 40 years' work, I'll finish and go. It looked like he was going to keep his promise, but at the age of 108, he passed away about 8-9 years ago. Even just 3 months before he passed away, he was giving a lecture in Mysore, and on the dais he had a mild cardiac attack-like thing, and he fell down, he collapsed. Then they took him and put him in a nursing home, a hospital in Mysore. In the ICU, he was on the first floor. They put all those tubes and needles and everything into him. Somewhere in the middle of the night, he became conscious and he saw all these things and he didn't like it. He just pulled off everything and he escaped from the first floor window. 180-year-old man jumped off the first floor window and disappeared. 3 months later, he died.
For more on Sadhguru, visit www.ishafoundation.org.